everybody, welcome back to Q-Tips. We are the Video Store Junkies, and we are back once again in 2024 to bring you some new and amazing selections to watch on streaming. And we're going to jump right into it, and I will pass it to Zach.
Oh, God, I'm not ready. Can you pass it to someone? No, I'm just kidding.
Do you want me to pass it to Paul instead?
No, I got this. Okay, so yeah, I've been gone for 2 weeks. My brain is semi-functional, and I was planning on kicking this episode off with recommendations for one of my favorite actors of all time because he just passed away in December. I'm, of course, talking about Andre Braugher. I think he's... I guess I'd say that he's underrated. I know that, like, everyone... I guess thinks that he's a great actor, but I just never saw him talked about a whole lot. So I'm gonna say he's one of the most underrated actors of our time. And I was gonna recommend. He's been in so much good stuff. I was going down the list. I was gonna recommend Homicide: Life on the Street. I think I've mentioned this before. One of my favorite shows of all time. And it's the show that introduced me to him, and he's absolutely brilliant in it. Unfortunately, that's not streaming anywhere. So maybe I'll instead I'm going to recommend another show, a very underseen show called Thief. Oh wait, no, that's not streaming anywhere either. Okay. Maybe I'll recommend something. I'll recommend a movie that we've talked about before. 2007's The Mist, Frank Darabont's Stephen King adapt. Oh no, sorry, that's only on Stars. No one has Stars. I can't recommend that. Oh God, let me see. Okay. Okay. So Brower, he was a serious dramatic actor. Early on in his career, and he kind of reinvented himself in comedic roles in the last decade or so. So I think I will recommend one of my favorite comedies of the last decade, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Oh no, that's only a stream on Peacock. No one has Peacock. Okay. Surely the multi Oscar Academy Award winning film. I think it was his debut. If not, it was one of his earliest films. 1989's Glory is definitely streaming. No, it's not streaming anywhere. Okay. I'm just gonna say I can't recommend any of. Maybe I'll actually I'll recommend the only thing that I can find streaming anywhere that has Andre Braugher in it. This weekend you should watch 2007's Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer on Disney Plus. No, I'm just kidding. So anyways, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm doing a bit here. It's way too long already. I will say I've given up on Homicide ever coming to streaming, and I did go buy it on DVD. Apparently, you can get the entire series for like $60. So I would recommend anyone who wants to watch that show go just buy it. Anyways, I apologize. I'm eating up so much time. So instead, I will actually recommend a film that is streaming, and I would say neither of the actors in it are as good as Andre Braugher. That's just because I don't think any living actor is as good as Andre Braugher. However, Mr. Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, they do a pretty decent job in the film I'm actually going to recommend today. These are a couple of guys who one of them is a private detective, and one of them is I don't know exactly what he is supposed to be, but he's a guy who basically you can pay him to go around to punch people. So that's if I remember correctly, that's his job. And I'm, of course, talking about 2016's The Nice Guys. The idea here is that Gosling and Crowe, they start off as kind of antagonists because Russell Crowe breaks Ryan Gosling's arm in the first scene where they meet because he thinks that Ryan Gosling is stalking a girl that has paid him to tell people to stop stalking her. But it turns out that things are a little bit more complicated than that. I don't know what else to say about this. This is a film that I have heard a lot of people talk about, and like everyone raved about it. It's one of those movies that did not do well in theaters, and it's definitely found like a little cult following on streaming. It is written and directed by Shane Black, and it is definitely one of his. It's a very Shane Black script in a good way. I think that he's had his share of misses over the years, but this is definitely kind of one of those movies that reminds you why he was such a hot screenwriter at one time. So anyways, The Nice Guys, it's streaming on Netflix. Yeah, I once again that is the film I am actually recommending. I apologize for opening with such a long bit. It's The Nice Guys. It's on Netflix. It's a lot of fun. It's worth checking out. And speaking of things worth checking out, I will pass this over to Paul.
Why, thank you, Zach. Um, my theme today is, you better keep an eye on Barry Keoghan. And it's apparently pronounced Keoghan. Apparently in Ireland, it's normally pronounced Keowen, but he's from Dublin and they pronounce it Keoghan, just in case you want to know. Um, and speaking of which, the first film is that I recommend is by director Yorgos Lanthimos, and it's The Killing of the Sacred Deer from 2017. Or it's Killing of a Sacred Deer, 2017, and it's on Netflix, Fubo, Paramount Plus with Showtime, Hoopla, Canopy, and DirecTV. So this one's sort of a thriller, mystery, suspense, maybe horror, depends upon what you ask. And it stars Colin Farrell as a cardiac surgeon and Nicole Kidman as his wife, and Barry Keoghan is a teenager who Colin Farrell has an interesting relationship with, and it's not quite the way you think it might be, but um, yeah, I don't want to say too much without giving away, but there are there's threats, potential sacrifice. How about I'll tell you this? I'll tell you this, and it's based on the play Iphigenia and Aulis by Euripides, and you guys know what I always say about Euripides: Euripides pants, Eumenides pants. Anyway. So, enough of that. So if you want to know what sort of it's about, you can look that play up. But it's really good. It's very effective. It's definitely Yorgos Lanthimos. So if you're familiar with his stuff, it can be a little odd, to say the least. Speaking of which, if you get a chance, go see Poor Things by Yorgos Lanthimos. That's his current film in the theater. It is absolutely fantastic. Quite a bit different from this one. And very funny. This film is not funny. But speaking of Barry Keoghan and Yorgos Lanthimos and people whose last names are sometimes mispronounced, I'll pass this to Renee.
It's very funny. It's very true. So my next film, nope, it's my first film. My first recommendation is a fun little film from 2023, and it's an Indonesian film, and it is called Spirit Doll.
Yay!
Yeah, so it's really interesting the way it opens. It's this actress. She's a very well-known horror actress, and she has starred in a film where a child has passed away and has taken the form of this doll, and the mother has become really attached to this doll in a really in a not good kind of way. And unfortunately, after a tragic accident in her home, life begins to imitate art a little bit. In the middle of all this poor woman is dealing with a lot of interpersonal drama. And I honestly don't want to give away too much. It's just kind of all over the place, but it's good and it's crazy. And the kid who is this doll character, she's great. And this movie is called Spirit Doll, and you can find it on Amazon. And I will reluctantly pass this back to Zach. No, I'm just kidding. I'll pass this back to Zach.
Oh boy. Okay, I promise I'm not going to do another 12-minute bit. I've got a second. I've got a bit of a Shane Black double feature today. So or for this week. So I mentioned Shane Black was one of the hottest screenwriters in the 90s. For those of you who don't know, he's gone on to do a lot of directing, but early in his career he wrote Lethal Weapon. He just wrote the first one. I was going to say Lethal Weapon 2. He did not write that. But no, he wrote Lethal Weapon. He wrote The Last Boy Scout. He was just he was just like on fire in the 90s. And in fact, at one point he was paid a then record, and I think it might actually still be a record. I'm not sure. But he was paid $4 million for a single script. And I'm happy to report the movie that was filmed with a script is actually pretty decent, and it's I don't want to say forgotten, but I feel like this is a movie that doesn't get talked about a lot. But I think it's good fun, and it's got a great cast. You've got Samuel L. Jackson and Gina Davis. That's right. I'm talking about The Long Kiss Goodnight from 1996. Gina Davis is just a small town woman. She's got a husband. I think she's got kids, but she's got one weird thing where she's got amnesia after. I think she remembers, like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, and then before that it's all blank. So one day her memories start to come back, and lo and behold, she was something of a secret agent, assassin type character, and it turns out that people are coming after her because they found her, and now she has to kind of reactivate all of her skills to survive. This is a lot of fun. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson and Gina Davis are great in this movie. They're both kind of at the height of their abilities here. This one was not directed by Shane Black like the other one, but it was directed by Rennie Harlin, who say what you will about him. I think this movie did not do super great, and I think this and oh my god, what's the other movie? Cutthroat Island. He did that right before this. I think those two movies basically sunk his career. But I don't care. I don't care what you say. I'm still a little bit of a Harlan head. I think he's got some good hits under his belt. This one is playing on. Oh man, let me see. Oh yeah, it's playing on Tubi, of course, because that's like the only place that you can actually find anything these days, if you can find it. Long Kiss Goodnight. It's a fun action film. Like I said, I think it's overshadowed by a lot of the other action films of the mid 90s, but it's definitely worth checking out because it's a lot of fun. So speaking of things that peaked in the 90s, I will pass it over to Paul. Oh, sorry. I'll pass it over to Paul.
Thanks, Zach. I guess thanks. Maybe. Well, anyway. So second.
Look, I peaked in the 90s and I was only like 13, so
well,
I'm not one to talk.
No, that's all right. Speaking of the 90s, actually, this one actually takes place. My next film actually takes place in the early 2000s, so it was almost the 90s. Again, it's along the theme of better keep your eye on Barry Keoghan, and this film is Saltburn, currently playing on Prime Video. This is written and directed by Emerald Fennell. Fennell, who did A Promising Young Woman. And this is a mystery, suspense, drama, thriller, comedy. There's definitely some humorous moments in this one, certainly. And it's about a young man at Oxford. He's from a more common background, and he sort of becomes infatuated with, and that's played by Barry Keoghan, and he gets infatuated by a classmate who's rather dashing and very popular. Felix, played by Jacob Elordi from Euphoria and Priscilla. And so Felix takes this Barry Keoghan's character Oliver back to his family manor of Saltburn, which is imagine sort of like Brideshead Revisited or Downton Abbey, that sort of English manor, but a little bit kind of on the slightly decaying side. Not really decaying, but not the best of times where it was. And he meets his family, and I just want to leave it at that. And as you're watching it, you're like, something's not right, and somebody is playing somebody. Somebody's zooming somebody, and that's sort of the question: is who's zooming who? It definitely has some moments that are intentionally why that was outrageous, and it depends upon how you're feeling about that. But I think it works for this film, and it was real. It's fun in kind of a sick way. This was one where my mom had watched halfway through it and called me up and said, "Oh, we need to talk about this when I'm done." It is all I can say is it's worth a watch. It's also interesting because it's shot in almost like a not as widescreen aspect ratio, more like almost like your standard definition TV aspect ratio. And I saw this at the Alamo with a Q&A by a live stream Q&A by Emerald Fennell, and she said she did that so people would kind of feel like they were peeking in at what was going on. Anyway, really kind of fun and sick and twisted, and will make you kind of cringe, but in good ways, and with just terrible, terrible, terrible people in it. And highly recommend it. It's Saltburn, and it's on Prime Video. And talking about somebody who is not a terrible person, I will pass this to Renee.
Thank you so much. So my second recommendation is just a bizarre fever dream of a movie. It's a group of teenagers. It's summertime. They're hitting up the amusement park, and they're out on the boat, just having a great time. And unfortunately, they hit some rocks, and the boat takes on water, and they have to bail out. But luckily, there's an island nearby, and they all were able to make it to this island. And even more lucky, there's a hotel on this island. Unfortunately, it is abandoned. Well, relatively abandoned. There are ghosts of some people from a 1960s New Year's Eve party that are hanging out, and they're there to, cause some problems, basically. It has ghosts. It has zombies. It has greasers, laugh tracks. It has bad effects. It has good effects. And thank God at the end, it has some exposition so that you can tell what the hell is going on. And you know what all that is?
That's a recipe for romance. Did I do that right?
Yes, that's right, it is. And if that song doesn't get stuck in your head just by Zach's amazing rendition, it certainly will by the end of this movie, because they play it about 15 times. So my suggestion is Bloody New Year from 1987, and you can watch that on Tubi, or Zach's favorite streaming service, the Arrow Player, or Plex. And I highly recommend it. It is so bizarre, but it's really good. In just a really bizarre kind of, like I said, kind of a bizarre fever dream way. So yeah, Bloody New Year, available on Tubi.
Yay!
Yeah, I guess that's it. Does anybody have anything they want to say or sing?
Do have a song that was featured in Saltburn if you want. There's actually a pretty cool extended tracking shot that my mom really appreciated in it. And it goes along with the song. It's 2001's hit, Murder on the Dance Floor. It's murder on the dance floor, but you better not kill the groove, DJ. Gonna burn.
For the weekend of January 5th, 2024, Paul has recommended The Killing of a Sacred Deer, available on Netflix, Fubo, Hoopla, and Showtime, and Saltburn, available on Prime Video. I recommended Spirit Doll, also available on Prime Video, and Bloody New Year, available on Tubi, Arrow Player, Plex, and Flix Flings. Zachary recommended The Nice Guys, available on Netflix, and The Long Kiss Goodnight, available on Tubi.